Yeah, so kicking off, welcome to the our Hero Not Zero webinar on business continuity and disaster recovery. So I think it's fair to say we've all had a rough year here in the Philippines and globally. I actually remember back in January, I'm actually from Australia originally, but in January, the Philippines, we had the Taal volcano eruption. Then in my home country, where I was originally from, Australia, we had bushfires, and all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And then as of just a few days ago, the Philippines has had some of the worst flooding in years as well. So it really hasn't been the greatest years in terms of in terms of disasters, and really I think it's unfortunately the Philippines is very susceptible to natural disasters, as we all know. So we have a lot of earthquakes here, we have active volcanoes, we have flooding and typhoon issues, and as of recently we're prone to pandemics, as we've seen as well, given that we are a fairly central hub to most of Asia. So I think Filipino businesses not only face these natural disasters, but the rise of remote working and working from home has really caused IT security issues, ransomware, and I think Peter's going to go through it more. But that's really been on the rise as I suppose a lot of hackers have taken this opportunity to basically try to take advantage of the people working from home and their insecure setups. So for businesses, the risks for business data and continuity and business continuity has never been higher. We believe it's not really a matter of if it will happen, but when it will happen that your business will be affected. And today we hope to provide you with some good information that can help protect your business so that you can sleep well at night, and then when a disaster does strike, you'll be looking like a hero and not a zero. So hence the title of the webinar. Now also, as promised, everybody that attends is going to get a grab 200 peso group food voucher so you can safely order your food at home. And at the end of this webinar, you have to be here. At the end of this webinar, we're going to spin a random wheel with all the people's names on it, and one lucky person is going to win Apple AirPods worth nearly 10,000 pesos. So stick around and good luck with that draw. So in terms of the presenters, obviously Sok Chen, that's me. I'm the founder and CEO of Kantanna. I've actually been in the industry for over 20 years, worked in Australia and the Philippines, and predominantly worked in IT companies, including EDS, HP, Canon Business Services, and Harbour IT. Peter, who you will hear from, and I'll pass the baton to shortly, is a senior leader at Datto. He's got over 25 years experience in the IT and telecommunications. He's worked as a general manager for some large MSPs, and he's an expert in BCDR strategies and technology. So look, before I do hand over to Peter, I thought I'd just give you a quick overview of Kantanna. So Kantanna is an IT services company who specialises in cloud and managed services. And basically, we help companies migrate to the cloud, manage their IT, and hopefully simplify their systems and streamline their systems to make them more efficient. We have partnerships with a lot of the major vendors, and one of our most recent partnerships is with Datto. We're very proud to be a Datto partner, and we and Peter today will be presenting Datto and the BCDR solution that Datto has to offer. Our core values as a business, so we like to understand the why. We don't just do things, we actually like to know why we're doing it, because it helps us make better decisions. As mentioned, we really try to keep it as simple as possible. We believe in simple solutions that are usually the best. We own it. Our people always own it. We own our customers. We own our customers' problems, and we keep ownership until it's solved. We try to be as honest and trustworthy every day in everything that we do, so that we can build long-term sustainable relationships. And given that we're in IT, everything we do is always, we try to make it very secure and reliable. Our core products, we really categorise in 4 areas. First is our strategic IT consultancy, So we offer VCIO and VTCTO services, digital transformation, strategic IT reviews. We have a cloud and infrastructure division who does cloud transformations, specialising in Azure, Office 365, IT infrastructure projects and business continuity and disaster recovery. We have a managed services product, which we basically provide 24/7 service and support to customers to allow them to focus on their core business and not have to worry about the support and maintenance of their IT systems. And finally, we've developed a secure remote worker solutions where we basically have solutions that ensure all your remote workers are working not just productively and efficiently, but also in a secure and reliable manner. So I think that was really all I wanted to present. I'll now stop sharing my screen and I'll hand over to Peter, and Peter will kick off from here. Thanks, Peter.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sop. You should be able to see my screen okay right now. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep, fantastic. Well, as Sop said, my name is Peter Elden. I'm the Senior Channel Development Manager here at Datto. Normally, I would be on the road and would be seeing all you wonderful people in person. But obviously, 2020 had different ideas, and I've been stuck in this spare bedroom of mine, what seems like 20 years. But I think it's a great initiative by SOP to offer the food voucher, keep everyone safe. We would normally do that in person and have a couple of drinks and something to eat, but I hope everyone's will get themselves some nice food while we discuss this. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about business continuity and business resilience. And not only technology, because technology is what we do, but also about strategies that work hand in hand with the technology to help protect our company's information and also our customers' privacy. So before I talk about the technology, I just want to tell you a little bit about Datto, because obviously what we're asking you guys to do, and also Sop and his team, is to trust us with your data, to protect it. And so we have to be to show that we're worthy of that trust. So Datto is a US-based data security business. We just went to an IPO to float in the US just recently, which was quite exciting. And we're in all the major continents that are a people. So when you look at the Asia Pacific area, we've got offices in Australia, in Sydney, and Melbourne. We have presence in New Zealand. And then within Southeast Asia, we've got Singapore, Philippines, and we're reaching that out. When we look from a data retention or data protection standpoint, we have data centers in Australia that look after Australia and New Zealand. And then we have data center presence in Singapore, which then covers that Southeast Asia aspect as well. One of the areas of importance is that we are 100% channel only. And what that means is that we only work with organizations like Kantanna and with SOP's team. And the reason for that is pretty clear. We are very good at the technology component of what we do. We focus on this area to make sure we're always reacting to bad actors and situations. But then by partnering with our managed service providers, such as Kantanna, what it allows us to do is to really understand and meet the customer's needs. So it's a best of both worlds, where you have a multinational IT company that then is working in conjunction with a local managed service provider to provide excellent customer service to end customers. We've got about 1,700 staff. 70% of them are either building our solutions or supporting them. So we're a very technical business. And we have over 500 petabytes of data under our protection currently. And that's broken down to over 150,000 devices globally that are protecting end customers' data and customer privacy. Now, as I said, I want to talk not just about technology, but I want to talk about strategies that help us provide business continuity and business resilience. And what do we mean by business continuity? Well, what we mean is the ability for your business to trade no matter what the event. You know, it doesn't really matter if what industry you're in. We have a reliance on computers and data, and that reliance is only increasing by the day. So regardless if you're in heavy manufacturing or primary production or hospitality or whatever it is, anything that you do customer facing will be connected to some IT services. So business continuity strategy is putting together technology and policy that allows you to respond to whatever the event be. And as Sop said, we can talk about physical events, be it floods and earthquakes and fires, or we can talk about virtual events like malware attacks and hacks. A good business continuity strategy, it doesn't matter what the event is, you have a plan and technologies in place that allows you to not only survive that event, but more importantly, trade through that event. So when we talk about the 5 steps, the best practices to protect your data, the first one we talk about is a firewall. And so the firewall is a piece of equipment that sits within your network, and it makes sure that the information coming into your network is legitimate and trusted. And the best way I explain a firewall to non-technical people is kind of think of it like a bouncer at a nightclub or a bar. So that security guard, that bouncer stands on the door, and it makes sure that whoever comes into the nightclub or into that venue should be in there, is dressed appropriately, and is going to behave themselves. And that's very much what a firewall does for your network. It's a security guard that protects who's coming in. Secondly is a spam filter. And if we were all in the same room, I'd say to you guys right now, whose spam filter is a little bit annoying and sometimes picks up things that isn't spam? And all of you guys would go, yeah, me. And I would say good, because you want your spam filter to be a little bit stronger than you need. You want it wound up a little bit, because if it's picking up things that isn't spam, then it's definitely picking up the spam. And so, you know, it's better to have a little bit of inconvenience where you got to go check a spam folder rather than having a major outage due to a malware attack. And then server and endpoint antivirus. And, you know, this is clearly something we don't really need to speak about. Organizations understand that they need antivirus. But, you know, that wasn't the case maybe 5 years ago. So a next-gen antivirus that's really adapting to the new attack methods of these nefarious organizations is critical in helping you protect your data. And then an area of significant increase, and an area that I would recommend people focus on, is staff training and cybersecurity awareness. Because as I said, technology can only go part of the way. Technology will never be as good as an educated and motivated member of your team just keeping an eye out for strange or unusual activity. So when an email comes through that looks a little bit weird, someone in your office sticking their head up, asking the person beside them, did you send that through? Oh no, it wasn't from me, that seems strange. So, you know, as much as we can provide technology to help you with this, training your staff, making them aware of what are the risks and their responsibilities will go a long way in protecting your data. And I'm sure that's an area that SOP and the Kantanna team can actually discuss with you guys. And then the final part of the puzzle, and the part that we believe is most important, is a recent and easily recoverable copy of your data. And what does that mean? It means a secure, safe backup of your data that, if it's a physical event, can't be affected by the physical event. And if it's a malware attack or a hack, the hackers can't get in and corrupt. Because when we talk to managed service providers like SOP and the Kantanna team, they tell us that on this journey up the mountain of protecting their customers' data, you know, all of these steps along the way are very important. So antivirus, employee training, patch management, these are all critical areas to protect your data, but they're all preventative. They need to work 100% of the time. Whereas as we have at the peak of the mountain here, that business continuity disaster recovery solution, that is the only part of this solution that can help you after the event. So, you know, as we discussed, an easy to recover copy of your data that's held safely and secure means what we give you is in effect a time machine. It gives you the ability to go back in time to before the event and recover data from there. So back in time before the flood, or back in time before the malware attack, and recover before the bad guys got into your systems. And how do we do this? Well, just bear with me. This is as technical as I will get on this presentation. So what we do in conjunction with the Kantanna team, and I suppose I'll just take a step back. There are two areas where your data lives. So your data either will live on premise, so in your offices, on servers, or in a data center that you have control to, or you might have moved your applications to a SaaS cloud delivery, something like Office 365 or G Suite. And so they're really the only two places your data can live. Either you're running it, or the Kantanna team are running it on servers held locally, or you've moved it to the cloud. And I'm going to address business continuity for both of those environments. And this particular one is for on-premise. So servers you either have in your offices or in a data center under your control. So what we do is with the Kantanna team, we put a physical device into your offices. And this Datto device talks to all your critical infrastructure. So all your important servers, your PCs, whatever you need to make your business run. And what the Datto device does, it takes a copy of those servers as frequently as every 5 minutes, but best practice is every hour. So every hour, it takes a copy of that entire server and keeps it on the Datto device. Now, you'll notice I said a copy there and not a backup, because a backup is only your important files. It's not the server itself. Whereas what we do is we take a copy of the entire server. So the server, the operating system, the drivers, any applications you're running, and then obviously your critical files. And so we take an entire copy, like a clone of that server, and hold it on the Datto device. We then use our own IP to send that up to the Datto cloud, which, as we've shown, is held in Singapore. Now, from a DR scenario, so disaster recovery, that is world's best practice. Because what you've got is 3 copies of your data, 2 on site and 1 in the cloud. But as I said, we're talking about business continuity, not just disaster recovery. And so we go further on this. So where we differentiate ourselves from our opposition is that in that device there, we have redundant CPU and memory. And what that means is, let's say you have an issue on your site. Let's say you lose one of your servers. And that server could be running your email, or it could be running your invoicing or your CRM or whatever. And you lose that server because the motherboard has crashed or died, or the power supply is broken. Now, traditionally, in a normal backup scenario, that server's offline until it's fixed. So your staff now can't work on that particular server and that application until you resolve whatever the problem is in the background. So your team would call SOP and his team, and you go, we can't get into the invoicing server. They realize there's a major problem, and then your staff need to sit around until that server is fixed. However, with a Datto, that's not the case. Because if we were to lose that server in your office, we could virtualize that server on the Datto device. And what that means is your staff would then work from the Datto device on that application, unbeknown that there was an actual problem with the real server. And then in the background, while your staff are working, SOP and his team would get a warranty job, roll out a truck or whatever it is, to again get that server fixed. While that's happening, the Datto device is still backing up the rest of your environment, and it's still backing up the server that's being virtualized on there, which means you don't lose any data. Now, once that's fixed, SOP and his team would then cut you back from the Datto device back to your production server, and you would then work from the production server. So a true business continuity solution. So it didn't matter what happened there, you'd still be able to get your applications and work while they fix it in the background. But let's say you're having a really bad day, right? So not only do you lose one server, but you lose all your servers, and also you lose the Datto device. And as Sop said, that could be because of major floodings that I say you guys are getting right now. It could be because of a power outage or an earthquake or whatever it is. So if you were to lose everything in your office, including the Datto device, the Kantanna team could virtualize in the cloud whatever was on the Datto device and then deliver it back to you and your staff via a VPN or via an RDP connection. So you've got a major problem in your office. You might send everyone to work from home. You might send them to work in a serviced office. You could borrow SOP's boardroom and you're all working out of there. SOP was able to very quickly deliver all your applications and still give you access to them while you resolve that major situation on your premises. Now, you're still having a bad day. You've still got a major problem, but you're still able to trade, talk to your customers, send out invoices, do whatever it is you need to do. So as I said, a true business continuity solution, regardless of whatever the event was. And all of this is backed up by a 24/7, 365-day support. And this is important because what we're doing is we're selling business continuity as a service. And what that means is that we're delivering an outcome. And that outcome is the access to your applications. Now, by that means is that we've got all these support teams in the background to make sure that no matter what the event, be it a small event on your site or an event that's affecting the whole of the Philippines, SOP has got the confidence of knowing he's got an entire team in the US who can support him and you guys through whatever the event. So it doesn't matter how big or small the event is, you know you've got the team and the resources that will get you through that event. Now, these are what the devices look like for on-premises. They're not that impressive. They just look like normal servers. The important thing to note, though, is they go from 500 gig all the way up to 100 TB. And so what that means is we've got a device that will fit your side, regardless if you're a one-person operator or you've got 1,000 staff. And we're saying to businesses, we really need to rethink backup, and we really need to make sure that we've got solutions that are fit the purpose based on our reliance on data and also the risks of our data today. Because as much as we talk about natural disasters being, having major impact on businesses, they're not generally the day-to-day disaster that will hit your business. Now, obviously, when something like a major flood hits, that will have a significant impact on your business. And it's important to have a business continuity strategy and technology in place that will get you through these major events. But hopefully you don't see too many of these in your business life. The biggest disaster to hit a business, and if we're all in the same room, I'd get you guys to guess. And whoever would guess people as your biggest disaster, congratulations, you're correct. But that's not really fair on your staff, because your staff have to be online, your staff have to be getting emails, they need to be putting C cards up and the likes. But the problem is we can't trust the information that's coming back to us, and that puts major strain on our systems. Because if we look at human error and ransomware and we put them together, they account for 96% of all downtime situations. So 96% of all data loss, business interruptions, inability to trade, come down to a combination of human error and ransomware. When we look at hardware failure, things are getting pretty good with hardware these days. They're getting quite redundant. And as we said, natural disasters, hopefully you don't see many of them, but when they hit, they have a major impact. And the way 2020 has been going, it's thrown quite a lot of at us, and we've still got a couple of months to go. So let's have a deep dive around the malware and crypto attacks that we're seeing, particularly around APAC, because unfortunately our region is a hotbed for attack, and we'll talk a little bit about why that is. So the first malware attack we saw in APAC, in the Australian, Asian and Pacific area, was in 2013. And what would happen is you'd be working on your computer in 2013, and all of a sudden everything would freeze. And then you'd get a big police logo on your screen. And if it was in Australia, it would say Australian Federal Police. If you're in the Philippines, it would have been targeted to your particular federal agency. And it would come up with their logo and it would say, you've been doing something illegal or immoral on your computer, and you'd be given a $1,500 fine or whatever it was in your particular currency. And you know, a lot of people were doing something illegal or immoral on the computer because it's the internet. So a lot of people thought that was real. And this attack was that basic that the fine supposedly you have to pay was a money order to India. But because no one had ever seen that before, you'd be surprised how many people paid that money order to try and get their data back. And that is a critical date, and it's a critical watershed moment in how we have to look at how we protect data. So we at Datto see that anything before that date, that first attack, we call that BC, before crypto. Whereas any date after that first attack, we class as AC, after crypto. And if you take one thing away from this webinar, I would encourage you to be this. If your backup and disaster recovery strategies and technology are from or around that date, then they're not equipped to protect you after that date. Because that was a game changer. Up until then, everything we were doing around data protection was based on a physical event. It was based on hardware breaking, or a fire, or a flood, or having no power. We as an industry weren't building solutions to protect us from criminal gangs trying to steal our data away from us. Now, we certainly all started to do that after this date because that was a real game changer. So we've got to make sure that the protections we have in place to protect our data and our customers' privacy are equipped for the risk that we see today, which is more so man-made physical or virtual attacks on it rather than a physical event. And when we look at the styles of attacks, you know, this is what we see. And if you've seen one of these, you are having a bad day. So this is what comes up on a screen when you get a malware attack. And, you know, let's be clear here. These people who are attacking us and sending out these viruses, they're not fat kids in their mum's basement. These are highly organized criminal gangs. And in some cases, it's enemy state practitioners. And so you have a situation where during the day, bad actors who work for enemy countries are using malware and hacking skills to attack governments, defense facilities, government departments. And then at night, on their time off, they're using the same malware and the same weapons grade software to attack small, medium, and large businesses in the Philippines and Singapore and Australia and around the world. And that's very difficult for a small to medium business owner to protect yourself from a weapons grade, government grade attack. And so it's important that we talk to our trusted advisors, our managed service providers like Kantanna and SOP's team to make sure that you're putting preventative and backup systems in place that will protect you no matter what the attack. And these guys are very innovative in the styles of attacks they use. You know, they come in very different forms. This is quite an interesting one. So this one here is someone who's got a malware and it's popped up and it says, you've got malware and you can restore your files the fast and easy way, which is to pay a Bitcoin and they'll give them the data back. Or you can do it the nasty way, which is if you get 3 other people infected, they'll give you your data back. So they're running like an Amway or a timeshare for malware, which is pretty scary. And if we have a bit of a look at the styles of industries that they're attacking, this is a bit of information that we pull from the Australian Privacy Commission. And it gives us a quarter-on-quarter review on the styles of attacks and the industries in which they're attacking. So if you look here as a little bit of a snapshot, we see that health service providers are getting attacked, finance, superannuation, education, insurance, and then professional services. So legal, accounting, and those type of professional services. So it's not surprising if you look at it, they're aiming at businesses that use a lot of IT systems, have a lot of data that's stored, but more importantly, are businesses that would have a very large reputational loss to that business if they're down for multiple days or weeks trying to recover from a malware attack. And you know, when we look at the cost of downtime, and we'll go into that in a little bit, there's two areas that it affects your business. It affects your ability to make money, right? It affects your ability to sell and trade and service your customers. But it also hits your reputation as well. It affects when, you know, if you're a lawyer or an accountant and suddenly you've had a large malware attack, your customers are going to be sitting there going, well, do we want to deal with these people moving forward because we've lost this data, or we've had this data go into the hands of hackers. And another bit of information we get from this site is it gives us the style of attacks. And what you see here is, you know, malware and ransomware, which is software that goes out, but you'll also see hacks as well, and phishing. And phishing is where they'll impersonate a supplier or a staff member or something like that to get one of your staff to either give them access to your critical infrastructure to then put malware in there, or to trick you to doing something that's not in the best interest of your business. Sending money to an area you think it was your CEO asking to do it, or sending critical information to the bad guys. And what I'd also recommend is have a look in your area. So if you're in hospitality in the Philippines, then do a quick search on Google for malware attacks, hospitality, Philippines. And the reason to do that is it gives you an idea of the style of attacks, how they're attacking, and then how some of your similar industries may have tried to recover. And then that can be used, as I spoke about earlier, in your staff training, to talk to your staff about, okay, well, there's an industry, there's a business similar to us, and they were attacked by this style of email attack. Please be aware of that and keep an eye out. And I just did a quick Google this morning, and what's interesting is the Philippines is in the top 8, and most recently the top 3 Asia countries that are focused on for hackers. You know, you've got your own anti-cybercrime group who are reporting back as well about the style of attacks. This is a site I recommend you guys keep an eye on. It will tell you larger scale attacks and where they're coming through. And it also shows that there are a number of malware software programs that are written with a direct focus on the Philippines. So it will use the style of language, the cadence, and they're focused in, they'll be using local businesses, so that when you get an email through that might be from a mobile phone company you use, and it will say, you know, your bill's overdue, and you're like, well, that's a bit strange, I just paid that recently. You click on the PDF and boom, that releases a payload. And also what was quite interesting is a number of groups that were focusing out of the Philippines as well, and were targeting businesses as well. So, you know, there is a hotbed of this activity in Southeast Asia, and it's very much targeted to look like a reputable email, and it will be targeted with businesses that you are familiar with. And, you know, this point here is a good one. At least one employee will click on anything. That's me at Datto, I'm the problem. And so they're constantly trying to train me to get better at that. A quick one as well, which I'll show you, is a business out of Melbourne in Australia. For anyone in the health industry, this was quite a major hack for us last year. This is a private heart hospital in Melbourne. They had a backup plan in place. Unfortunately, they got hit by either North Korea or Russian gangs. They got in, they deleted their backups, they deleted the malware, their antivirus, and then they encrypted 15,000 patients' files. They were asking for 60,000 Australian dollars as a malware payment, and the hospital it's taken it 2 years, 2 full-time staff to try and recover any data that was lost. And that had serious impact on their ability to perform surgeries, which obviously has a major reputational impact on their business, but it also then was putting people's lives at risk as well. So we've talked a little bit about the style of attacks and what these guys do. Now let's talk about the cost of recovering from these attacks. So we do a survey every year, which SOP and people like that would respond to, and we get a real heartbeat on what's happening globally on malware attacks. And what we saw in 2019 is the cost of recovering from a malware attack, if you don't have a business continuity solution in place, is 23 times more than the ransom that the bad guys are trying to charge you. So if you look at the average ransom last year in Australian dollars was $5,900. But the average cost to recover from a malware attack is 141,000 Australian dollars. And how do we get to that figure? Well, think about, let's say you get a malware attack and it's got into all your servers. And so you ring SOP and you go, it's got into my servers. I need you to clear it out and rebuild my servers. That's going to take, between a week and 2 weeks to do that process. He needs to get in, destroy all the servers, clear off the malware, and then hopefully you had a backup in place. And he now needs to recover that backup and rebuild that up. Now, in that time, you can't trade, you can't send invoices, you can't get payment, you can't do anything. So you've got the revenue cost in your business while then SOC fixes that problem. You're still paying your staff, you've still got your building costs, you're still paying for power, it's just dead time. And so it's worked out on average, it costs $141,000 for a business to recover from that. And so I know a lot of you would be sitting there thinking, well, okay, if it's going to cost me $141,000, why don't I just pay the $5,900 to the bad guys and get my data back? You could do that. It's a bit risky. You don't know if they're going to give you your data back. I mean, a lot of times they do because that's their business model. But I've seen a number of them where you pay the first $5,900 and then they go, okay, give me one more payment and we'll give you your data back. Funny enough, these are criminal gangs. Their ethics aren't brilliant. But if you do pay the bad guys to get your data back, you've certainly done these 3 things. So number one, you've told them that you exist. Because a lot of these attacks are just spam. They don't even know if they got anyone until you respond. Secondly, you've told them that your data is important to you because you're trying to pay to get your data back. And thirdly, you've told them that you've got money. And so if you do pay and you are looking to get your data back, then rest assured you'll be attacked again very soon because they put you on a will pay list. So we've spoken about how we protect our data on premise through business continuity technology and strategies. We've spoken about the styles or the ways that we can lose data through physical events like earthquakes, volcanoes, fires, the likes. And we've spoken about the criminal gangs that are actively trying to steal our data away from us and hold it ransom. Now what I want to do is just quickly touch on how we protect our data if it's in the cloud. So if you've got your data in Office 365 or you've got it in G Suite. So what we do at Datto, and obviously what we provide to SOP and Kantanna team, is we provide a full backup service for Office 365 and G Suite. We back up the mail, the OneDrive, SharePoint, Exchange, everything. So that entire tenancy. And we take a snapshot of that every 8 hours. So 3 times a day, we take an entire copy of that. We hold it remotely from Microsoft in our own cloud systems. And we do exactly the same thing for Google. Now, I know a number of you will probably be sitting there now going, well, hang on a second. If it's already in the cloud, why do I need your backup? Microsoft are backing up for us. Well, they're not. So a lot of us would think they did, and I originally thought that, but that's not the case. So it's important that when you move to a SaaS provider, so like, Xero or 365 or G Suite, as the data owner, it's important that you understand what risks and what availability you have to recover that data, because you as the data owner, you're responsible for it. And so if you look at Microsoft and G Suite and most SaaS providers, they work on what they call a joint responsibility model. And what that really means is they need to do certain things to protect this stuff, and you as the data owner need to do certain things to protect the data. And so Microsoft and G Suite, and we'll use them as an example, they will make sure that you have always got access to the cloud. So they'll make sure that they build their data centers in a safe place. They'll make sure they've got plenty of hardware on standby. They'll make sure their software works. They'll make sure they've got full power, redundant internet. So they'll always make sure you can get access to the cloud. But you as the data owner needs to protect the data that's held within that tenancy, that cloud. And what do you need to protect it from? Well, human error, like fat fingers, people deleting things accidentally, and then 6 months later or 3 months later realizing they've deleted important files. Traditionally with 365, you wouldn't be able to get that back. Malicious insiders. So that could be someone in your business who's trying to cover their tracks because of fraud, or maybe someone who you've just exited from the business, and before they go, they're just deleting emails in the whole tenancy. And I'm sure a number of you guys would have had a situation where at some point you've let someone go and they may have done something that wasn't either ethical or legal, and now you're trying to recover that data to see what was actually done. Again, in 365 traditionally, you're not able to do that. And then the final area of major concern is external hackers and malware. We're seeing a significant increase in attacks that are focusing on SaaS because, as I said, these guys are criminal enterprises, they're highly organized, and they're making a lot of money. So, these guys get together every year and they go, okay, where are we going to make our money from? They see that lots of businesses are moving to the cloud, and so they're focused to attack the cloud. So when we look at the Microsoft terms and conditions, and I don't know about you guys, but if you have any trouble sleeping, reading terms and conditions will certainly help you with sleep. But this is Microsoft's terms and conditions, and they say in there that Microsoft have no liability for the deletion of customer data. And G Suite say the same thing. And what they also go further to say is they recommend that you keep the data in a non-Microsoft tenancy in a separate area so you can recover, and that's exactly what we do. And as I said, that's because we see that there's significant loss of data in these environments. And quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about ransom cloud and how we're seeing this major increase in these attacks into 365 and G Suite. And there's a video I'm going to mention here, but if anyone emails the Kantanna team or SOP, he'll be able to provide you. And this will be a video of what I'm about to explain here. But the gentleman you see on your screen right now is a gentleman by the name of Kevin Mitnick. And if you do a search on Kevin Mitnick, you'll see that he's a very famous hacker. And back in the day, he was a black hat hacker, so he was one of the bad guys, and he'd hacked the NSA and NASA and a few organizations. And he went to jail, and he went to jail for quite a long time. While he was in jail, he had a bit of an epiphany and decided he was going to help people and be a white hat hacker and help businesses. And he's done exactly that. And Kevin is actually presented at our major conference in America, and he's a fantastic presenter. But what we did with Kevin with this bit is we actually asked him to build a malware that focused on 365, Office 365. We wanted to see how easy or hard that would be for anyone to do. And unfortunately, spoiler alert, it was very easy. So what Kevin did in a matter of a few days is he just went on the dark web, and he didn't even actually build anything. He just bought some services and put that together, and he built up a campaign that would attack Office 365. And what would happen is you would get an email through, and it would pretend and look like it was from Microsoft. And everywhere you look at it, it looked like it was from Microsoft. And it was saying that Microsoft were offering you, as a 365 user, a free anti-spam pro. And this was an anti-spam product to help you stop getting all this spam. And this is the first time anyone should have realized this was a problem, because Microsoft don't give you anything for free. So there was a problem with this. But this would come through and it would look very genuine, and so people would click on it, and Kevin would have it set up. He would say, you'd get a little pop-up and it would say, you know, we've got to make sure you're you and you're authorized to do this, so just please log in and we'll give you your free anti-spam pro. And so someone would log in, and as soon as they logged in, Kevin instantly had access to their entire mailbox. He could send emails on their behalf, he could receive emails on behalf, but more importantly, he could also encrypt everything in that tenancy. And as you see here, what he's done, and you know, again, if you watch the video, this happens instantly. The entire tenancy is now encrypted. You then got this message up which tells you to pay, and the way ransom cloud works is it's a small transaction. It might be $50 US, and it's done very quickly. You can very quickly follow these instructions, pay your $50, and then bang, you get your tenancy back. But the problem with that is, if you're running hundreds of mailboxes and you've got lots of staff being hit with that, that's, you know, lots of money and it's lots of downtime, but also that has major implications on the integrity of your data and how safe you are moving forward. So, you know, it's important that when we look at moving to cloud services, that as the data owner, we look at how safe that data is and who is responsible for protecting that data moving forward. So with that, I've given you guys a ton of information, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring SOP back in, and we're just going to go open to questions and see how we go for any questions that we have out there. So SOP, are you there?
Yeah, mate. I'm here now. Yep. Thanks for that,
Wonderful.
Peter. Great.
Good to see you again. So we give an absolute ton of information there, but I think we should just recap a little bit. And you know, a lot of what I've said sounds kind of scary and a bit daunting, and it is. But I think the easiest thing for everyone to take away is, you know, we have experts in this, and that's obviously SOP and the Kantanna team. And so just as you would go to an accountant to get financial advice, just as you'd go to a lawyer to get legal advice, our biggest recommendation is go to your managed service provider, go to your IT specialists and ask for advice on preventative and recoverable actions on protecting your data, because they understand, they know what the best forms are, and then they will enable you to put this in place, and then you can get on with doing your business, and then in the background they can help protect your data.
Yeah, thanks for that, Peter. Yeah, so definitely, I mean, what Peter's talking about there is I've been in the industry 20 years, and I have many stories of customers I've worked with where they've been hit by ransomware and phishing and all that type of stuff. So it's one of those things you don't really think about, you know, too much, and then it actually does hit you, and then you realise that, you know, that you don't have a good backup and you're scrambling around, and I've seen many times the IT manager or the CIO has not looked very good because he's had to go back to the business and said, oh, the last good backup I had was about a month ago. So, you know, so this is really about what this webinar is about. Is really, I think, you know, these things are real. They do happen. There's many cases of happening, and if you're lucky enough that it hasn't affected you, definitely should consider that it can happen, and then make sure you've got things in place that if it does happen, you can manage it easily. Okay. So with the questions, so I know Filipinos are quite shy generally. So what I'll do, I will. I'm not sure how good people are with Microsoft Teams, but there's a conversation button. It looks like a little chat thing. If anybody has any questions, they can click in there and just type their questions, and then we'll be happy to answer them. Now, what we'll also do is we'll contact everybody via probably phone over the next few days, just to organise your grab 200 peso voucher, and then also time we can also have a conversation, and if you want to get more information, we'll be happy to meet with you on a one-on-one basis as well. So So I'm just looking at this chat window. No questions as at the moment.
I think we must have answered every single question in that webinar. It was very comprehensive, wasn't it?
It was. So if there's no question, that's okay. We'll contact everybody anyway, and then we can talk to them then. So probably what a lot of you are waiting for is the Apple AirPods draw. So what I'll do, I'll just share my screen. Just give me a sec.
I'm in this drawer as well, am I, Tom?
No, unfortunately not, mate.
I understand. I wouldn't even accept them. It's got to be a customer who wins this.
Now I just need to find the right screen that I want to share. I'll just share my desktop.
Oh, do you want me to stop sharing?
It's okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So these are the AirPods that we're putting up for draw. Now, Hans in the background has been busy putting everybody's names in to the special wheel that we're going to see, which is a very sophisticated program that we've developed that goes through about 1 billion permutations and variations and picks out a name. So I'm just going to click the wheel now, and then we'll see.
All right. I'll give you a drum roll.
Here we go. And we got
the sound effect.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah, I think it is. And here we go. So, Hannah, probably should thank us. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll be in touch with you, Hannah, directly, and we'll make sure that you get your AirPods, and everybody else will also be in touch. Make sure you get your Grab 200 peso group food voucher, and also have a chat to you guys in person as well. So I think that's about it, guys.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Sop. We've really appreciated being along, and thanks to everyone for their time.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and we've finished ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
See you now. Bye.